Hello, welcome to the American League Division Series postgame show presented by the Ultimate Sports Show. I'm your host this evening, joined by Steven, my dude right here. We love talking baseball here, and we're bringing you all the Division Series pregame and postgame shows. But, Steven, let's get into this game tonight. Man, the first game, obviously, Houston and the White Sox. Unbelievable game. You know, we've been talking about pitching, and I feel like we're gonna be on repeat with what's been going on. What do you think? I mean, look, it was a matchup of Lance Lynn and Lance McCullers, coincidentally.
Yeah.
And Lance Lynn looked tremendous. He looked absolutely tremendous, just the way he was throwing the ball. But honestly, I just felt like, he started off strong. You give up one run, but, I just felt like all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're seeing the game, the way that things are going to start going on for him. What do you think ended up going wrong for him? I mean, McCullers was great. McCullers
Yeah.
outstanding, unbelievable for his game, 6 innings pitched. It's, not a lot of strikeouts, but obviously no walks, and that's huge. I mean, obviously walks
Yeah.
are everything in this game. What do you think went wrong for Lance Lynn tonight? I mean, obviously he just got outschooled and just everything just kind of fell apart for him.
Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting game, obviously. Lance Lynn, it was weird. A lot of his pitches were they were sailing outside the strike zone, and so I felt like early he wasn't really in control. And so the first inning, he got through the first inning, and then you get to the second, and you fall behind, and I think that just sort of got him into his head. And it was rough because once the floodgates opened up, Houston really just they didn't let up. And so I think that for a pitcher, for Lance Lynn not being able to locate inside the strike zone, it was he was falling behind in the count. He just wasn't able to get those strikeouts that are needed, especially when you have runners in scoring position. It was a rough night for him. And they had to go. The White Sox had to go to their bullpen early, and I think that was sort of the Houston obviously capitalized on that, and they got a great performance from McCullers, like you said. I mean, to go 6 innings. He threw over 100 pitches tonight. Like you said, he didn't have a lot of strikeouts,
Yeah.
but even though he wasn't locating the strike zone as well as as expected for a pitcher with his that threw as many innings as he did, he was able to keep the balls that he was keeping in play. The White Sox were making contact, but they weren't falling in the gap like they should be or like they're used to. So it was unfortunate for the White Sox, but Houston really capitalized on all their opportunities. I mean, they were doing really, really well. I was really impressed with Bregman. I thought Alvarez had a great night. I mean, he had that home run and he had that double early. So it was all in all, I was very impressed by Houston. But I think, like I said in our pregame show,
Yeah.
the White Sox have been cold. I think they got off to that super hot start the first half of the regular season. This is a very different team than it was 3 months ago. So I think that we have to sort of tailor our expectations for this White Sox team moving forward in this series, because they're really going to have to scratch and claw to get a win here, because Houston's a very, very well-rounded team. So I don't know. What do you think the future of this series has in hold for us?
I mean, obviously, besides pitching, I feel like I think the answer now is, look, obviously in the end of the day, there's one team, obviously in the start of every series, there's one team that's going to be down. And now the question is how does the White Sox respond? What do you do differently? Obviously, their starting pitching has to be in order. I mean, I think, and honestly, I think in some of these scenarios, I think some of the jitters, as they say, like, oh, it's baseball, you're not gonna have that many jitters. Yeah, if you're playing a regular season game, and it's maybe opening day, whatever it may be, opening night, you might have a little jitters and you play on. But I mean, everything's, we've been talking about this already, is everything is just so much more elevated.
Hmm.
Just the scenario, the where your mind is. Obviously, your pregame routine is changed. The way you go about your day, and I just think it's going to be, how does Chicago turn this around? How do they turn this around? How do they tie up the series? That's all they should be worried about. Obviously, they were. I believe they were only 1 for 8 today. Yeah, 1 for 8 with runners
Hmm.
in scoring position. That's not going to cut it. 0 for 2 for Grandal. Brady was 1 for 1. Jimenez was 0 for 1. Engel was 0 for 2, and I believe Sheets was 0 for 2. So it's like,
Hmm.
where do you have to look through film? Obviously a lot of film is going to be used, especially in the postseason. But now, how do they respond, and who's going to be the guy that wakes them up? Obviously, they have plenty of depth here in their bats, and the question is, I think, I think it's got to be at least two guys here that wake this team up.
Yeah.
You have to have that purpose now, and you know what?
Hmm.
It's with any sport. Anytime you go down in a series 1-0, you're ready. I call it next man up mentality.
Hmm.
Period. So who do
Well,
you think? I mean, yeah.
speaking of the next man up, I'm looking at the pitching, the pitchers for Game 2 in this series. The White Sox, it looks like they're going with Lucas Giolito, and he is there. He's been hot. You want to talk about, for me, talking about a team that's been cold lately. Well, there's a pitcher on their team that he hasn't lost in his last 5 games. So
Hmm.
you want to talk about next man up mentality. I think if he comes out and he pitches a good game, I mean, Framber Valdez is a very good pitcher for the Astros. I think it's going to be a pitching matchup to keep an eye out for. But I think that the White Sox, if they have any hope, it's going to be, keep it low scoring. Don't go to your bullpen early. They need to get some solid innings, 5, 6 innings from Giolito. And I think it's going to be that's going to be, they need to ride that, pitching in Game 2. So hopefully they can tie up the series. But I think I'm going to stick with my early prediction. I like Houston in the series. Unfortunately,
Why?
I like Houston.
What now? Why Houston? Do you think? What do you think? What is Houston now? In your opinion, what do you think Houston has better? What is your take on Houston being better in this case than Chicago? Because I think in some ways it could be evened out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Houston, it's they're very different teams. The White Sox they both have very good offensive teams, but I think that Houston has that experience. They have that again, like we have to preface every single conversation about this team.
Right.
Put their postseason history aside for a second, but they do have experience. Altuve and Correa and these guys, they've been there before, and I think that this is something that lends itself to being prepared for high pressure postseason baseball. And I also just, quite frankly, I think Houston has a better pitching staff. I think they have a better bullpen, and I think that we're going to say this for the next few weeks, but pitching wins in the postseason. And so whoever has the better pitching staff, I'm going to tend to prefer that team in any series moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, moving forward, let's get into Tampa Bay and the Boston
Hmm.
game. That game, man. Um, Tampa Bay, man, just shut the door. I mean, we were literally talking about some of these matchups, and that's just the beauty of these games, is it could go either sideways, or it could be a pitcher's duel, which obviously we've seen kind of a game in the last 48 hours. We'll kind of get into
Hmm.
that towards the end. But obviously Tampa Bay came out and said, you know what, you guys are going down tonight. We are taking this game, period. And obviously they deserved it. They literally looked solid at all ends. Obviously the defense was terrific in the games. And you know what? I just felt like they had the better. I felt like McClanahan just pitched great. 5 innings, 5 hits. Obviously strikeouts. Strikeouts were, in both games. Not a whole lot of chasing for
Hmm.
strikeouts, three strikeouts for McClanahan as well. But their bullpen, man, just came in there and shut the door like nothing. Literally not. I believe they only had what 9 hits in the game, and
Yeah.
considering Tampa Bay had one error in the game that didn't cost them Boston a run is incredible.
Well, I mean, speaking of errors, though, I mean,
Yeah,
Boston had 5 errors, and that, I mean, that cost them. But
yeah,
you want to talk about just the biggest surprise of the night, both games, Eduardo Rodriguez. Whoa. I mean, he couldn't. I thought they were going to pull him in the first. I mean, seriously, the Rays came out just attacking him, and it was surgical. It wasn't like they were just coming out swinging. I mean, they were making contact, taking good pitches, and I mean, you saw it. Franco with his early double in the first, and then and then Diaz as well. It was the floodgates opened early on, and I don't know, they had Rodriguez really
yeah,
shook early on, and I couldn't believe they brought Richards in so early. We were talking about this. I was sort of switching between football and baseball tonight, and I switched the channel back to baseball, and I didn't even see Richards warming up, and next thing you know, I said, "Oh my
yeah.
God, Rodriguez is out of the game." It was it was a rough night for Boston. I mean, too many mistakes, too many errors, and their pitching just. I think that this is they played such an emotionally charged game 2 nights ago. I think you're going to see a very different ball game in game 2 of the series. It's going to be Boston's going to come ready to play. This is sort of expected in my mind, but don't
Yeah.
underestimate Tampa. Tampa's a great game. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
taking anything away from them.
You know what? If there's obviously, I gotta say, if there's one guy that was wishing that they were a part of this game for Tampa Bay tonight, is obviously former Tampa Bay pitcher is Blake Snell.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you know,
he wants to be in the postseason. Yeah,
I can tell exactly what he wants to do.
yeah,
But
exactly.
obviously though, I mean, really, Garrett Richards came in there. He didn't have to worry about too much. Pavetta, obviously just didn't help.
Mhm.
If you're gonna keep the game close, I mean, you come out there and throw strikes. Period. You got
Mhm.
to throw strikes. You got to hit your spots. Um, and I just obviously Pavetta, seeing how he was throwing the ball, he just didn't seem like none of his breaking balls were working. His fastballs, he was missing his spots completely, and they
Mhm.
just had a field day with hitting on there. I expect Boston that obviously even the series.
Mhm.
I think this series can go all the way, possibly, potentially. What's your take though? I mean, I think Boston is gonna. I think Boston just has to come back strong, and their
Yeah,
game two, and just say, look, we did not play up to par. We got to go out there and attack, and I just felt like they weren't aggressive enough at the plate.
I think I just like I was saying in the White Sox game 2 preparation. I think that the Red
Yeah,
Sox are doing the same thing. They're going to put Chris Sale on the mound in game 2, and they're
yeah,
they're they're going to go for the jugular early. I feel like because they need to have a statement game in game 2 because this. To be honest, after the game tonight, this looks like it's a mismatch on the field, and so they need to come out and prove that they belong and that they can go toe to toe with over the past 2 seasons the best team in the American League, and that's been the Tampa Bay Rays. As much as they seem to sort of fly under the radar, this has been one of the best teams in baseball, and I feel like the Red Sox, like you said, if this does go the distance, they need to they're going to have to play Chris Sale because they're going to need him available for potentially a game 5 in this series. So
yeah.
I think that I agree with you. I think they are going to tie it, but my gut here is I want the underdog to win in the postseason because that makes it more fun.
True.
I think Tampa Bay is going to win the series. They are just they are such a deep team, and again, they have a better pitching staff. So I hate to sound like a
Yeah,
broken record, but I it's true.
yeah. I
But
mean,
what do you think? Who do you think wins the series?
I think honestly, I think whoever wins, I think whoever takes the next series lead, whoever wins, either this we'll know a lot. This is how I'm
Mhm.
putting it. We will know a lot tomorrow. Obviously, game two is tomorrow as well. The Red Sox game starts at 4 o'clock on the West Coast, 7 o'clock on the East. And the White Sox game, I believe, is earlier game. It's the 11 o'clock game in the morning. So who loves some morning baseball? Definitely tune in as well. But I absolutely think when it comes to this game, the Red Sox and the Rays, I think whoever wins this game tomorrow, either it's going to be tied, or Tampa Bay is going to come out with a 2-0 lead. And then I'm almost positive Tampa Bay could possibly just wrap this up.
Yeah.
But if Boston comes out strong, Chris Sale looks immaculate and pitches terrifically, I think this game series could be tied, and then we'll see where we're at, because I'd say it's too early to call yet. My own opinion is too early to call. Whoever takes a 2-0 lead, has a better chance at it. But obviously, we've seen some teams obviously blown a 2-0 lead.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But honestly, anything could change. Anything could happen in the world of baseball, which is great. So, obviously, we have to talk about, as much as we love the American League, we have to mention as well. As we start wrapping this up and getting ready, obviously tomorrow is the National League Division Series. That is the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. Dodgers are playing on the road. The rest of the way, they are the road team, because whoever wins the wild card games are on the road to start every series. So they obviously had a historic night last night for the wild card game. Winning that wild card game, man. Did you get a chance to watch the game? And what did you think? Obviously, Chris Taylor came up strong for them as well. I think that's something that could ignite him as well.
Well, first of all, it's hard to say, because I have to be objective here. I was happy to see an incredible baseball game yesterday. And I think I mentioned this in the pregame, but this is the game that baseball deserves. Like, I know the Red Sox and the Yankees in the wild card was great. This is what we all came here to see. We want to see 200 win teams. I don't care when it was. If it fell in the division series, or the AL or the NLCS, but this is what I want to see. I want to see the two best teams in baseball this year head to head in a series, winner take all. This is what it's all about, because the Dodgers looked fantastic last night. I mean, Max Scherzer was not the best, but he got the job done. And then, like you said, I mean, that walk-off home run was amazing. Their pitching late was amazing. I mean, Kenley Jansen, he stresses me out watching him. I know I've said this to you multiple times, but man, those pitches, the top of the ninth, he just put the game away. And it was, I forget who it was, but there was a foul ball in the top of the ninth that took my breath away a little bit, because Mookie they had the shift on, and he was in center right, so we kind of pulled up on it, and I thought maybe the Cardinals had hit a home run, but man, it was a fantastic game. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, though.
Well, I actually got the pleasure of going to the game. So I will definitely say what an environment it was. Obviously, obviously we have to you have to mention the bottom line of what the whole playoffs are about is pitching. And I think we could say, obviously, a little bit back into the American League, is we all thought that Yankees Red Sox game was going to be pitching. Who is going to come out there, throw strikes? Who's going to get these guys to chase? Your breaking balls, where is your breaking balls going to sit? And in this case, who's your umpire is going to be like? And obviously in this case, Joe West calls a very narrow strike zone. So it happens. And I mean, obviously, we'll get more into the whole Dodgers preview coming up tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Tune in for the National League Division Series pregame show presented by us, as always, at the Ultimate Sports Show. But obviously, it's going to be the game of runs, and it's also going to be the game of pitching. I think
Mhm.
that's just flat out. I think you're gonna hear us on a broken record, like we've had it before. So I think that's exactly where that would fall. But obviously, in the last night's game, incredible. Also, we're getting some historic facts and talk
Mhm.
about Chris Taylor tomorrow. So you have to wait to hear about Chris Taylor and his history with the Dodgers. So that's going to do it for us here. American League Division Series, a post-game show presented by the Ultimate Sports Show. For Steven and myself, I'm Aaron, guys. We will talk to you tomorrow for the National League Division Series pregame show. Take care, guys. Have a good night.